Hello and welcome. Thank you so much for checking out my channel. I really do appreciate it. On this episode, I'm going to talk about why is the Rolex Explorer II so unpopular and probably the least popular watch in the Rolex catalog. Now I know if you follow this channel, this is probably what feels like my 100th episode on the Rolex Explorer II, and I've talked about in nausea how much I love this watch and how great it is. And I do all these videos because I'm truly passionate about this watch and I feel I can put out good content on something I truly rely on and trust. And this is a great watch. All that great things being said about the Rolex Explorer II, why is it when I'm walking around or having events in, influential areas such as Beverly Hills, Santa Monica, parts of San Diego, parts of Orange County, is it I never see a Rolex Explorer II on anyone's wrist. I've only seen one out of all these years out in the wild on someone's wrist. I've seen dozens upon dozens of Daytonas, Submariners, GMTs, OPs, everything Yachtmasters, everything you can think of from Rolex, but not the Rolex Explorer II. Why is that? And don't let these long wait lists for the Rolex Explorer II fool you. Out of all of Rolex production for steel watches, the Rolex Explorer II is by far the least produced watch out of steel watches for Rolex. So the wait list doesn't really compare to how popular the watch is just because Rolex isn't making that many. So why is this watch so unpopular when, in my mind, it's the best watch that Rolex has ever made? My name is Shane Walls and I make my living as a fine art nature photographer and explorer. I've come to truly depend on my tool watches when I'm out in the field. Whether it be timing my hikes or timing my camera exposures, tool watches are an intricate tool in my photography process. And these episodes on this channel are based on my amateur watch collecting journey as I search for that ultimate tool watch. Ever since the release of the Rolex Explorer II back in 1971, it was for, let's say, a niche market. And I think that kind of leads to why it's never really been quote unquote popular. Starting out, the watch was made for spelunkers or cave explorers. And the orange GMT hand was to let them know if it was sunlight or if it was daytime or nighttime. It wasn't used as a GMT. It wasn't functional as a GMT when it first came out. It was just to let people know underground, light or day, outside your cave. Now, in that way of thinking, if we look at the Submariner, it's another tool watch that was made for divers, strictly for divers, but also too, it can be worn for swimming. The Daytona was made for race car drivers. Not everyone's a race car driver, but a lot of people drive cars. Same with the GMT, it was made for pilots. A lot of people travel, need a GMT watch. So I think the way of thinking, those watches were made for tools for a certain purpose. They kind of bleed over into a lot of other things. The Explorer II, not so much. People, naming some spelunkers or cave explorers today, you're looking at maybe a few thousand people, honestly. Getting back to when it was first made for that tiny, tiny niche. People get Rolexes to feel like they're explorers, to feel like they do things in the original Explorer. Not everyone's climbing Everest, but people are out exploring. Leaning into that a little bit more now, that's also too, I think, while the Explorer II is being overshadowed by its bigger brother. The Explorer I has that history, has that bigger, how should I put this? It's not nearly as niche. It's exploring. You can explore top Everest, you can explore a forest, you can explore the park out in your backyard. So with just a small niche this watch was made for, I think that started it off, I don't want to say on the wrong foot, but it really set it upon this, it can do amazing things, it's built for amazing things, but very few people can relate to that, whereas all the other Rolex tool watches, people can relate to it. They can relate to diving, swimming, they can relate to driving cars, they can relate to traveling, they can relate to exploring. All those things, very few people can relate to going into a cave for over 24 hours to have to worry about when I come out, is it light or is it dark? Bringing that thought into today's world, today's market, the Rolex Explorer II, in my mind, is the last true tool watch from Rolex. It's the only watch now in their catalog that hasn't what I think has gotten the beauty treatment. It's still a down and dirty tool watch. This is another reason why I think it's not too popular. Want to breathe some new life into your home or office? Why not do it with some fine art and nature photography? Through my exclusive fine art photography, I celebrate the beauty and grandeur of nature, but also the solitude and peace that I feel when I'm outdoors. Limited to only 18 prints per image, I use the best possible cameras when capturing that perfect moment in time, allowing for amazing image quality on any scale. Industry-leading printers with top quality materials to create these nature scenes as if you were there witnessing them for yourself. Check out my website for more information on these award-winning photographs. It's just a functional watch with no glitz and glamour. It doesn't have the history or the celebrity endorsement as other Rolex watches do. Therefore, it isn't as appealing to the majority watch buying market in the way that if they're celebrating an anniversary or something by buying a watch, they're only gonna have maybe 1 or 2 Rolexes. So they want that Rolex luxury, that Rolex flair, something the Rolex Explorer II does not really offer. As most of my interactions with this watch, a lot of people don't even think or realize it's a Rolex till after they see it up close. Sticking with the idea that the Rolex Explorer II is just a down and dirty tool watch, that is another inherent problem to its popularity. It's a tool watch that costs $10,000. Now I get this in my comments a lot. This cannot be a tool watch because it costs $10,000. That's a lot of money for a watch. Now, me personally, I think it's pretty well priced for what the toughness you get, the robustness, the accuracy, the +2, -2, the certification with it, that you only need to service this watch every 10 years, the 5-year warranty on it. So fingers crossed that I'm gonna live another 50 years and keep this watch for another 50 years. I think that's a pretty good investment for $10,000 to have a watch for that long that's working reliably and that I can hand down to the next generation. That being said, there are so many other close competitors for a tool watch. And a tool watch is like a lot of other watches. It depends on that person. It's different opinions for different folks. Some people think a tool watch is a G-Shock that costs $100 or that can beat up and just replace every couple years. Something it's a Hamilton or a Victorinox or something like that that will last 2 or 3 years, maybe, $1,000, $2,000, that again, they can beat up. It's a good looking watch, but they just replace. The Rolex Explorer II, when I bought it, I never planned on replacing it. Like I noted, I want to wear this for the rest of my life. That's a small, from what I've seen from my experiences, my motives and me being a sentimental guy and want to, every scratch has a story kind of guy. Those ideas of watch collecting and watch buying is a vast minority of most watch collectors. I don't want to pay $10,000 for a watch that was just designed to be a field watch. Therefore, again, leading to the unpopularity of the Explorer II. The sizing and the proportions of this watch lead it to be a little unpopular in the way that it is a pretty big watch. Rolex says it's 42 diameter and about 48 lug to lug. But if you really measure it, it's bigger than that. It's about 42, I think it's 42.6 I measured it, and almost 50 lug to lug. So it is a big watch, especially with the white dial. It makes it look bigger. Those proportions don't fit a lot of wrists. Me personally, it's just pushing the edge. I like how it fits my 7-inch wrist. But again, it is a big watch, and I also like in the way that my tool watches, I want them to feel like a tool on my wrist. I want to know that watch is there and it's there for a purpose as a tool. A lot of people don't like that and they want it to be a little bit more, it's not, how do I put this? It's a very comfortable watch for the sizing of it. It's not nearly as comfortable as my Rolex Submariner, which is a lot smaller watch. This watch, it's thin, which helps it, but it is still a big watch, leading to it being, again, in my opinion, not so popular for a lot of people as it is. It's just a little too big for a lot of wrists. Now, even though this watch is in a bit of no man's land, people using it for a tool watch don't want to spend $10,000 on it. People don't want to spend $10,000 on a luxury watch that isn't really luxury. I do foresee the Rolex Explorer II as a future classic. It's the last true tool watch of Rolex and a reminder of what Rolex used to be before it's kind of moved jewelry. So with this, there's rumblings too as well that this watch is soon be discontinued. They switched the movement out on it on its 50th anniversary, but they haven't really done anything else to this watch. It's the only Rolex model with a functional bezel that hasn't been switched to ceramic. This watch, it's got so much going for it. I love that it's not popular. I think it's a great thing. I love that it goes under the radar. For a lot of folks though, that's a negative and has led to this watch being so unpopular. Is what it is. I will cherish this watch forever. Again, I think it's a future classic. It's a fun, durable watch. And if you look at it from a sentimental guy, how I use my watches and really truly depend on my watches and need to rely on them, it is, and I dare to say, the perfect tool watch, and it's almost really the perfect watch. But thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Some fun news. Next week, we'll be introducing a brand new watch to this channel, so make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any of my testing and thoughts on this new watch. Reminder again, the summer is just around the corner and I'll be displaying my limited edition exclusive artwork at this year's Festival of the Arts Pageant of the Masters in Laguna Beach, California. So if you're in the area, come by, say hi. I think day tickets for the art show are between $10 and $15 depending on the day. Live music most days. It's a fun event. I'd love to meet you. Come talk watches, come talk art. Thanks again. Really appreciate you watching. Cheers.